Lyle Hewitson would have to be one of the most talented riders that South Africa has ever produced. Well, he'd have to be. If he can break a record set by 11-time South African champion jockey and champion jockey of Great Britain, Michael Roberts, and of course Gavin Lerena, who smashed his record, he has to be one of the greatest. And he's got until the end of the year to absolutely obliterate that record. A record that may be even greater than the 334 that Anthony Del Pes set for his title. But that was as a fully fledged jockey. This is an apprentice record, but there's no doubt that if he continues to show the kind of improvement that saw him start off as a little mite, that he will be one of South Africa's greatest jockeys. It's early days yet, but let's catch up with Lyle Hewitson at the Kearsney Jockeys Academy to find out how it all started and what makes him tick. You've obviously heard of this expression, 20/20 vision in hindsight. So very easy to predict the future when you know what the past was. But the bottom line is that you've come from a very strong horsey background. A father that was an exceptionally talented jockey, might not have realized his true potential, but when did Lyle Hewitson believe that this kind of thing could happen to him?
Look, it was always a dream of mine to race ride and to be successful. I always used to say to Yvette when I was at the yard, imagine one day I could ride a horse for you. And I used to discuss it with my dad, do you think I could ride for the stable if I do become a jockey? And I think that realization only came once I started riding the work riders races, and that a career being a professional jockey was a possibility. And, in grade 11, I saw that my weight was still doing well, and this could be for real. And, I didn't apply for any university because I was so dead set on taking this up. And so when I finished my matric and I joined the academy, I think that's when it really hit me that I'm going to start living the dream.
Now, before we get to Michael Roberts or Gavin Lerena, who are your natural successors in this particular endeavour as an apprentice, it's amazing that two of the finest jockeys that this country have ever seen have come out of Port Elizabeth. It seems like a really fertile ground for great jockeys.
Yes, we do actually seem to produce good jockeys in PE. I don't know what it is. It must be in the water. Maybe, I think it's the horsey backgrounds. Pierre, he had his father bringing him up. And like you said, my dad, I think, a great horseman and a great rider, and something I might not have realized being so young at the time. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, I think what you said, that he never reached his full potential, is very true. I've probably taken those sort of abilities from him and learned from where he went wrong and put in the hard yards to achieve what I could.
Well, the irony really is that you're sitting on a scale. It's a very famous brand scale. They have them all over the world, but that appears to have been your dad's enemy, because I know what a great judge of pace he was, and I know exactly how balanced he was. He was an exceptionally balanced rider.
I didn't get to see much of it, but I've heard a lot, and I've seen a few videos, and I think you're spot on. Exceptionally balanced. He has amazing hands. Still to this day, the best judge I know. Yeah, I think the weight was something that told, and maybe just I think a lot of opportunities were missed, and I think that's what this game is about. Is every opportunity you get, you need to take full advantage of, and that's why I've been so fortunate that I could learn from him, and he could guide me to be where I am today.
Obviously, there's not just one part of this equation. The other part of the equation is a loving mother that also happens to be a very fine horsewoman.
Yes, my mum, she'll always say that she's not a great rider, but that's just in her modesty. She's a lovely rider, and I actually also learned a lot from her from playing polocrosse, and in the same breath, her fiance Henry. So yeah, I've learned a lot from them, and like you say, she's a loving mother, and I think in terms of character, I've learned a lot from her, which has stood me in great stead to be where I am today.
Divorce is never an easy thing to deal with, but I think your mom and dad have coped admirably, and in fact, as a result of their separation, they've remained really good friends, and it's given you an opportunity to go to Kearsney, because I have my doubts whether you would actually have ended up at Kearsney College if your mom and dad had stayed together in Port Elizabeth.
I was very young when divorce happened, and it never really affected me. I thought it was a pretty cool life that I could go spend one weekend here and one weekend there. So, yeah, that didn't bother me. I think being in high school, obviously being a boy, it was tough not seeing my dad every weekend. But that's what made the holidays and half-term breaks and the likes so special, is that I could go down there And my holiday was riding work, and it's all I wanted to do. And that I had him to do it with me was fantastic. And during the weeks, every Saturday, Sundays with my mom, built me into the fine man I am today.
What's incredible is the fact that you had a contemporary at school in the name of Damon Del Pesh. You're now fighting for the national title with his father, a multiple champion jockey, the South African record holder. Isn't that unreal?
Yeah, it's such a small world. It's actually, I got goosebumps just thinking about it now. Damon and I were good friends through school. We are good friends, and I used to go to his house every weekend, and whenever Anthony would get on the equisizer before races, I'd go sit in the gym and watch him. And, I probably have to be honest, I've learned a lot from Anthony too, because I was close to them, and I took a leaf out of his book. To be where I am now, competing against him and giving him a little run, I think that's something special. And it's pretty cool to think that we're close and fighting for the same thing.
Well, it's quite incredible that there's only 3 guys in this title race at the moment, and that's Anthony, who's the hot pot favourite, Gavin Lorena, who's the second favourite, and you're the outsider, but you're the one with the most energy. You're the one with the most opportunities, because you'll be riding more horses than both of them.
Yes, obviously Gavin, he's had a few setbacks this season, and it's made it a bit tough for him, but he's an exceptional rider, the former record holder, and he's got good support base, so it does help him a lot, and I think he'll be back on it very soon and making the catch up very quickly. In the same breath, Anthony's the same. He's got such a strong support in Durban. He comes up here to Joburg, and he does really well for the big stables too. So, that's obviously the hard part, is the quality of rides they get. But I must say I'm getting my fair share myself, and I'm doing a bit of travelling. I've got a great yard in PE. Every now and then I still go down to Durban, so I'm keeping it ticking over, and I think that's what's most important.
And here's Shenanigans coming forward to take over the lead. Shogun is second, then comes Ray Davrick. It's Shogun in the lead. Now Shenanigans nearest us. Shenanigans and Shogun, but it's Lyle Hewitson's time. He's done it. Lyle Hewitson brings Shenanigans to victory. It's 285, and he blasts through the stratosphere.
Anton Marcus is a former champion, multiple champion, great rider. He's always used various different people, whether it was the late Gabby Soma. Recently, he's been using the Whisperer Matthew Stevens to assess his rides. How does Lyle Hewitson see the opportunity of gaining rides around the country, excluding PE, which of course is all spoken for?
Well, yes, as you mentioned, PE, obviously I'm riding for Yvette full time, and my dad working for the stable, so that kind of falls into place itself. Up here in Joburg, I don't think I would be looking to employ anyone, for the mere fact that I ride a lot for Mr. Terry and Mr. Azzy, and these are yards that I work for every morning, and I just find it a lot easier to organise rides myself and take responsibility myself. When it comes to travelling for the likes of Cape Town and Durban, I probably will approach somebody, and because obviously being out of town, it's a lot harder to get the rides and study the form as much. So yeah, with time to come, when I finish my apprenticeship, I'll be looking into that for the Cape and Durban seasons.
Credibility is everything. And, when a guy has become a tipster to make a living, one surely has to have respect for him. I mean, that's the way I see it, because there's a lot of fly-by-nights.
Yes, no, 100%. And I think the most important part of that is it's someone who enjoys racing and watches a lot of racing. Just looking at Anthony Del Pesh with Dees, he's had an unbelievable season. He's sat on some really top horses, and that's because, Dees is on the ball. And obviously Anthony's a great rider, so it's a lot easier to get him on. But he is on the ball, and you need somebody like that. So, yeah, definitely credibility is everything.